Hi everyone, I'm Ashti and I'm back in the Earthy Cookhouse studio to show you how to make a plant-based version of an Irish classic dish. Today we're going to be making a hearty, scrumptious shepherd's pie. This dish is traditionally made with mutton, vegetables, potatoes and cheese. But today, we're going to make a vegan version with soya mince. This dish is so comforting, but it's also a real crowd favorite. It's the perfect centerpiece if you're having a party and wish to impress your guests. The base of the dish is something called a mirepoix, which is a classic French culinary technique where a combination of carrots, onion and celery are cooked in a fat. In this case, we're using vegan butter or oil. To look out for is to make sure that the veggies don't caramelize. So we have to cook this on a low heat and sweat the vegetables. Okay, so let's start the recipe so I can show you how this is done. So this recipe has two parts. The first one is the mashed potato filling. For the mashed potato filling, we'll need 1 kg of potatoes. Any kind of potatoes will work, and I have boiled my potatoes. Vegan cheese and vegan butter. And some vegan almond milk. We have the Borges unsweetened almond milk here. For the second part of the recipe, which is the filling, we'll be needing some Borges cooking olive oil. I really like the Borges cooking olive oil because it has a high spoke point, which means it's perfect for sauteing vegetables like this recipe. 2 onions finely diced. We have some celery over here, which is also finely diced, and some carrots finely diced. And we have 1 cup of soya mince, soaked in boiling water for about 15 to 30 minutes. Soya mince normally comes dehydrated, so it needs to be soaked in hot water or vegetable broth for about 15 minutes before we can use it. And we have 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Tomato paste is concentrated and has a really intense flavor. 1 tablespoon of ketchup. Tomato ketchup is used for its slight sweet and tanginess. 400 ml of boiling water. 1 vegetable stock cube. 100 ml of red wine. I love cooking with wine, and you don't have to worry because the alcohol actually evaporates during the cooking process and you're left with this deep umami flavor. We're using the Borges balsamic vinegar, which is a dark concentrated vinegar originating in Italy, and this Borges one really adds a ton of flavor. And we have some soya sauce. You can use light or dark, whatever you have access to. And we have about 4 sprigs of thyme destemmed. This just adds a beautiful aroma to the dish. Some frozen peas, no need to dethaw them. 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, some salt and pepper, and some butter to lather over the potatoes. Okay, so in a large pan, let's heat some Borges cooking olive oil. Once the oil is hot, add the diced carrot, onion and celery. Now cook this on a low heat. I add a small pinch of salt. This helps with sweating the vegetables and it releases all its water. Just make sure to cook it on a low temperature. We don't want to caramelize the vegetables. So cook on a low heat and you'll slowly see the vegetables start to soften, shrink, and it'll smell really good. You can see the onions becoming translucent. Keep stirring so they don't burn, but don't panic if you see a few pieces with color. That's totally normal. While the veggies are sauteing, take a big bowl and whisk together the tomato ketchup, tomato paste, boiling water, vegetable stock cube, red wine, soya sauce, some chopped thyme leaves, and Borges balsamic vinegar. Whisk this until it's well combined. This is the magic sauce, and add this to the pan. Increase the heat until you get to a boil. Now that the mixture has come to a boil, let's add the soy mince. Take the soy mince, just make sure you use your hands to squeeze out all the water and add it directly to the pan. Add the soy mince to the pan that has the sauce. Mix it well. Get it to a boil and then simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes until most of the liquid has been absorbed. So leave the sauce to simmer for about 15 minutes and just keep stirring it occasionally so it doesn't burn. Make sure that the heat is on medium to low. Now it's time to add the frozen peas. You don't have to thaw them, you can just add them directly and cook it until you get a nice bright green color. Okay, now let's make the cornstarch slurry. Cornstarch helps thicken the gravy, which is what we need for the base. A thick vegetable gravy which is then topped with the mashed potatoes. In a small bowl, whisk together some cornstarch and water. Add this to the main sauce and simmer for a few minutes until it becomes thick. Okay, now the most important part of the dish is seasoning. So let's taste it and check for salt and pepper. It's hot, so be careful. It seems okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper. And a pinch more of salt. And that should be perfect. Okay, so let's start with the mashed potato filling. I'm going to make a cheesy buttery sauce with some Borges almond milk. In a pan, add some Borges almond milk, some vegan cheese, and vegan butter. Now heat this on the stove until it's well combined. You just want the milk to be lukewarm. In the meantime, let's start mashing the potato. Use a potato masher like this, or you can just use your hands as well if it's starting to get messy. Okay, so now that this is done, take this cheesy buttery mix and pour it onto your mashed potatoes. And now it's time to mix this really well. This is how it should look, and now just make sure to season it with some salt and pepper. Okay, now let's start assembling the dish. We have the soy mince gravy, which I'm going to put into a 9-inch baking dish. Just spread it out evenly so we can put the mashed potatoes on top. Okay, now let's take the mashed potatoes and add them evenly onto the dish. So I'd use a spatula, put in dollops and then spread it evenly. The mixture is really quite thick, so it's a little difficult, but I think you can get used to it. Okay. Now I just spread it out evenly. Okay, now that it's spread evenly, I use a fork to create this wavy texture. This really helps with burning all these crispy edges and it gets all brown and nice in the oven. And now the last step, we take some vegan butter or oil and just lightly brush it over the entire pie. Focus on the edges, because that's what's going to get all crisp and nice. We're ready to bake. Okay, so the oven is set and we're going to bake it for about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, it's almost done. Okay, it's almost done. It's bubbling, it's nice and brown. Now let it cool for about 15 minutes and it's ready to serve. Okay, now that it's all cooled, I'm going to garnish it with some spring onion. And now let's cut into it. Okay, it's time to taste now. It's creamy, it's like cheesy, and those brown edges just give it such a good flavor. I really hope you guys try this recipe. So the shepherd's pie originated in the 1700s in Ireland, where money was tight for families. And it was a very creative way for housewives to combine leftovers from other meals to make a new dish that's extremely filling. Since the humble pie began as a way to make use of what you had on hand, there isn't one recipe that you can say is the right one. So recreate it your way using plant-based ingredients and let me know in the comments what worked and what didn't. See you in the next episode of Earthy Cookhouse, where I will teach you yet another vegan recipe that will blow your mind. See ya!